Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is holding high-stake talks in Egypt today, and he arrived in Cairo earlier and met with the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. And of course, this is the latest stop on Pompeo's 9-country tour through the Middle East and Africa. In Egypt, he's trying to soothe tensions and concerns over America's plan to withdraw troops from Syria. He's also reinforcing the Trump administration's hardline stance on combating Iran's threats in the region. Pompeo spoke earlier at the University of Cairo.
The Trump administration did not stand idly by when Bashar Assad used chemical weapons against his people. Indeed, President Trump unleashed the fury of the U.S. military not once, but twice, with Allied support. And he's willing to do it again, although we do hope that he does not have to. For those who fret about the use of American power, remember this. America has always been and always will be a liberating force, not an occupying power. We've never dreamed of domination in the Middle East. Can you say the same about Iran?
All right, let's bring in CBS News State Department reporter Christina Ruffini. She joins us now from our Washington bureau. Christina, you've been following Pompeo's journey. What are the big takeaways from the speech that he gave?
Well, there were several. Really, the theme, if you want to call it that, was this line he said, that the age of American self-inflicted shame is over. And he didn't mention him by name, but he pushed back at what he said were President Obama's failed policies in the region. He said by being cautious or even afraid to exert influence, that America actually did more harm than good. And this is really fitting with this hawkish stance of the Trump administration when it comes to foreign policy. Basically, we're not going to apologize for being a superpower. We're going to get involved in places we think we need to get involved in, and that, he alleged, will be better for our allies and the region overall.
So can we talk a little bit about John Bolton? Over the weekend, he really made some headlines, National Security Advisor, because he said that the withdrawal of U.S. forces from Syria would be conditional, that it wouldn't happen until ISIS was defeated. It seemed to directly contradict the president, who said the troops should withdraw within 30 days because ISIS was already defeated. Did we get any clarity at all?
Not really. So Pompeo said President Trump has said it's time to get out of Syria, but that the U.S. is going to continue to work with its partners to defeat terrorism in the region. He said the U.S. won't stop until every Iranian boot is out of Syria, and that it would use diplomacy to do that. What he didn't say is if he would be using only diplomacy. He also said the U.S. is looking for its partners to do more, but again, didn't say if they would be doing more alone. The administration officials have repeatedly said they're not going to talk about timelines, but there's still a bit of a disconnect between these two statements. When asked directly about Bolton's comments earlier on this trip, Pompeo said there was no contradiction between the two. Mr. Trump said we're going to get out, and Mr. Bolton said we're going to get out. But considering this tour and this multi-marathon trip that Pompeo is on is meant to clarify American foreign policy pertaining to especially the Syria withdrawal, I'm not sure this speech did that in the one place that so many of these questions remain.
Another focus of Pompeo's trip, Christina, has been Iran. Why is this significant as the Secretary of State meets with officials in Egypt?
Well, Egypt, as you know, receives more foreign military aid from the U.S. than any other country other than Israel. And this last year, the Trump administration released $195 million in military aid that had been put on hold over concerns of humanitarian rights abuses in Egypt. And that's because the Trump administration is laser focused on lessening Iran's influence in the region. And the way they want to do that is to build up America's allies and alliances and strengthen those militaries in places they think can help counter Iran, even in places with controversial human rights records like Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Now, we all saw Scott Pelley's interview with Egyptian President Sisi, where he asked him directly about the estimated 60,000 political prisoners in custody. Sisi said there are no political prisoners in Egypt, only extremists who pose a threat to the state. Whether or not that answer satisfied the Trump administration, we don't really know. The State Department says Pompeo did bring up human rights abuses in his meeting with Sisi today. But Egypt has a big military, and they're an important strategic partner in the region. So for now, that seems to be the priority. This administration has made the calculation that Iran is a bigger threat to more people than the Egyptian government. Or, in other words, Vlad and Anne-Marie, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so the partnership endures for now.
So often you hear that when it comes to the Middle East in particular.
Indeed. Christina, thank you very much. Great reporting. We appreciate it.
Thank you both.